You'll meet her one day, not in the way you expect, not in a moment of triumph, but in a quiet season when you think you finally understand yourself. She will not announce her arrival. She will appear in a glance, a laugh, or the stillness between words, and something in you will shift. A recognition you can't explain. It will feel like remembering someone you've never met. At first, you'll call it attraction, then obsession, then confusion, because nothing about her makes sense. She draws you closer while making you feel like you're falling apart. You'll try to name her, lover, muse, temptation, dream, but she'll slip through every label. It isn't her you're seeing. It's everything you've been running from. Carl Jung said that every man carries within him a hidden feminine soul, the anima. She is not a woman of flesh and bone, but a mirror made of light and shadow. And when you meet her in the world, you are not falling for her. You are colliding with the reflection of your own unconscious. That's why you fear her. She doesn't just love you. She exposes you. If this kind of truth speaks to you, if you've ever felt that eerie pull towards someone who seems to know you better than you know yourself, subscribe to the channel. This is where we uncover the patterns beneath love, loss, and awakening. Because this channel isn't about answers. It's about remembering what you've always known. So take a breath. Settle in. This is the story of the woman every man fears to meet, and why she's the key to his awakening. Carl Jung once wrote that the soul doesn't simply exist within us. It reaches out through everything we desire. For a man, that bridge to the soul often takes the shape of a woman. Not just any woman, but the one who embodies everything he's missing, everything he's repressed, everything he secretly longs to integrate. Jung called her the anima, the feminine image that lives inside a man's unconscious mind. When a man meets this reflection in human form, it doesn't feel like meeting a stranger. It feels like meeting destiny itself. Her eyes seem to speak the language of his dreams. Her presence feels like home and danger at once. She triggers something ancient, something holy, something terrifying, because she doesn't just fit into his life. She rewrites it. The anima is not there to comfort him. She arrives to awaken him, to show him what he's forgotten, and to burn away the illusion of control he's built around his heart. She is the living embodiment of everything he projected outward. His tenderness, his sensitivity, his longing for beauty, his fear of surrender. When he meets her, he believes he's found the one. But what he's really found is the key that opens his unconscious. And once that door opens, he can never go back. This is where his descent begins. It always begins innocently. A meeting, a message, a look that lingers a moment too long. Something invisible clicks, and without warning, he's pulled into an orbit he didn't know existed. She doesn't seem extraordinary at first, but that's the illusion. What makes her dangerous isn't beauty or charm. It's the way she sees him, the way she looks through him as if his soul were transparent glass. He finds himself thinking about her when he shouldn't. Conversations replay in his mind like scenes from a dream. There's something ancient in her presence, something he can't define. She feels familiar, as though he's known her for lifetimes. And in that familiarity, his defenses begin to dissolve. She doesn't chase him, yet he can't stop coming closer. The silence between them feels magnetic. When she speaks, it's as if she's answering questions he never said out loud. She draws out the hidden parts of him, the tenderness he buried, the fears he refused to face, the dreams he abandoned long ago. Her presence becomes a mirror, and in that reflection, he starts to remember the man he was before the world told him who to be. But something else awakens too. Fear. because to be seen this deeply feels like standing naked in front of God. She doesn't soothe him. She stirs him. He wants to hold her, to keep her close. But every time he reaches for her, she slips through his fingers like light through water. He tells himself he's in love. But it's not love. Not yet. It's recognition. The anima has taken form. The soul's mirror wearing human skin. She is not here to complete him. She's here to shatter what is false. And every attempt to control her only accelerates his unraveling. He will try to keep her. He will promise, confess, surrender, anything to make her stay. But the more he grasps, the more she fades, because she cannot belong to him. She never could. In that haunting realization, the outer world begins to blur. The fantasy collapses. What he thought was romance becomes revelation, and what he thought was her was always himself. Still, he can't look away, because even when she's gone, her absence echoes like a sacred wound, reminding him of the part of himself he must now learn to face alone. He starts to sense it before it happens. A quiet distance grows between them, not in words, but in energy. The air feels heavier. Conversations begin to repeat. Her presence, once magnetic, now exposes his restlessness. He tries harder to hold on, to recreate the spark, to fix what isn't broken. But the more he reaches, the more she fades. The same light that drew him in is now too bright to bear. She begins to mirror everything he's refused to see in himself. His jealousy, his pride, his fear of inadequacy. Every wound he's buried begins to surface through her. She becomes both mirror and magnifier. When he looks at her now, he doesn't see love. He sees his own reflection, raw and unfiltered, and it terrifies him. He starts to resent her. He blames her for changing. He tells himself she led him on, that she used him, that she was never real. But deep down, he knows the truth. She didn't destroy him. She revealed what was already collapsing. She didn't vanish. She simply stepped out of the illusion. Carl Jung said that what we call love is often the projection of our inner world onto another. When the illusion breaks, it feels like loss. But what dies isn't the love. It's the fantasy. The persona he built begins to crumble. The image of who he thought he was, the strong, controlled, rational man, dissolves in her absence. He may try to fill the void quickly. Another woman, another goal, another distraction. But none of them satisfy, because they're not her. Or rather, they're not what she represented. The part of himself that he caught a glimpse of, but couldn't hold. The anima has retreated, returning to the depths of his psyche. This is where many men stop. They numb the pain. They curse her name. They retreat back into safety. But some stay. They choose not to chase, not to replace, but to understand. These are the men who realize the collapse wasn't punishment. It was an initiation. The fall is not the end of love. It's the beginning of awareness. He begins to see her everywhere, not as a person, but as a pattern. A whisper in his dreams. A flicker of recognition in a stranger's face. A haunting melody that plays when he's alone. It isn't madness. It's memory. His psyche is replaying her image until he finally understands what it means. The woman he feared, the woman he couldn't keep, was never meant to stay because she was never separate from him. She was his own soul, externalized, given shape so he could finally meet himself. Every word she spoke that cut him open was something he needed to hear. Every argument was his shadow, screaming to be seen. Every moment of tenderness was a reflection of his capacity to love, not hers to give. And when he finally looks beyond the pain, he notices something strange. The same qualities that drew him to her. Empathy, Intuition, depth, chaos have begun to awaken in him. He starts to feel more. He listens differently. The edges of his world soften. The woman who broke him becomes the threshold to his own rebirth. This is the purpose of the anima, not to complete him, but to introduce him to his missing half, to burn away the ego that clings, competes, and fears, to force him to face what he denied, his need to be seen, to feel, to surrender. The woman every man fears to meet is not a curse. She is the alchemist of his awakening. When he realizes this, the anger fades, the obsession quiets, the silence that once felt unbearable becomes sacred. Because now, when he closes his eyes, he no longer sees her leaving. He sees her returning, not as a woman, but as the light within his own heart that he had forgotten how to hold. Something shifts. Slowly, quietly. The pain doesn't vanish, but it changes shape. It stops clawing at him and begins to guide him. He wakes up one morning and realizes the longing isn't for her anymore. It's for wholeness, for peace, for truth. The woman every man fears to meet doesn't ruin him. She refines him. Her presence was the strike of lightning that split the old identity in two. She forced him to confront the parts of himself he buried beneath ambition, distraction, and pride. Through her, he met his own tenderness, his own shame, his own capacity to love without control. That's what Jung meant when he said that no tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. The descent into love's destruction isn't a mistake. It's initiation. The woman was never an ending. She was the mirror showing him where the divine feminine lived within him, waiting to be acknowledged. And once he accepts her not as a lover to possess, but as a truth to embody, something extraordinary happens. The world changes. The need to chase, to prove, to conquer dissolves. In its place grows a quiet clarity, a presence that no longer fears loss, because he understands now. The woman every man fears to meet was never sent to destroy him. She was sent to wake him up. If you've ever met her, you already know. She's not someone you forget. She doesn't fade with time. She lives on in the way you breathe, in the way you love, in the way you carry silence differently now. You feared her because she stripped you of everything false. But what she left behind was real. Every man meets her eventually, not to fall in love, but to awaken. And when she's gone, if you listen closely, you'll still feel her. Not as pain, as presence. The echo of your own soul reminding you that love was never about keeping anyone. It was about remembering yourself. If this voice found you at the right moment, subscribe to the channel. This is where we walk the line between love and consciousness, between the fall and the awakening. So breathe. You're home.